This is Seattle, showplace of the USA in 1962, site of America's Space Age World's Fair. And this is April 21st, opening day of the exposition which has been in preparation for 7 years. Moments from now, the gates will swing wide on the $100 million extravaganza, Seattle's salute to science in the century to come.
Welcome to the opening ceremonies of the Seattle World's Fair, brought to you by Dorsey's 6th Avenue, the Pacific.
"59 minutes from now, President John F. Kennedy will push a gold telegraph key at Palm Beach, Florida, to officially open the Seattle World's Fair, the first World's Fair to be held in the United States in 23 years. I'm Charles Herring, speaking from the Washington State Coliseum, the largest building on the fairgrounds, a mammoth 4-square-block structure without a single supporting beam or column in the interior. The main attraction here in the Coliseum is a futuristic look into the future, into the 21st century, to see how man will live and work and play in the year 2000. It is one of more than a score of exhibits you'll see on this program, produced by KING-TV Seattle for television audiences here, as well as in Spokane, Portland, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. With live television cameras, our reporters are spotted at locations all over the 74-acre fairgrounds. Let's call in some of them now for a few brief remarks. First to the South Gate, where crowds are gathering to get the first glimpse of the fair. On the scene is Frank Blair of NBC's Today Show, which will originate from the fair all next week.
Hi, here we are at the South Gate, and behind me are Century 21 versions of totem poles. To my left is the most magnificent, beautiful, informative, and instructive exhibit I've ever seen, the United States Scientific Exhibit. And I look up, I can see the Space Needle with its elevators running up and down its tracks. That's what we'll have at the South Gate for you, but now we go to Bill Nielsen at the Plaza of States.
The Plaza of the States is a ceremonial area in the center of the fairgrounds, displaying the flags of all 50 United States of America, depicting the growth and unity of the United States and graphically illustrating its history from early colonial times to present day. From this same camera location, we'll show you the unique International Fountain and talk to some very colorful guests. Right now, however, let's go to Stan Borison on the Gayway.
I'm greeting you from the Gayway at Seattle's World's Fair Century 21. In a few moments, this place will be swarming with people, and I'm going to take you around and show you some of the major rides. There are 19 of them in this area, and I'm also going to be talking to a lot of the people responsible. We'll take real close-ups of some of these thrilling rides. And now to Bill Corcoran in the Canadian exhibit.
This is the International Plaza with the beautiful Coliseum fountain and pool in the foreground. Some 58 foreign nations are represented here through exhibits and concessions. The continent of Africa alone is represented by 28 different countries. And there is even one Iron Curtain country exhibiting here, that country being Yugoslavia. We'll visit and talk with some of the exhibitors a little later. Right now we go to Ted Bryant in the industrial exhibits area.
I think the other fellows should...
More than 100 firms are represented with industrial exhibits here. You can take a simulated ride in outer space, get a close-up look at a 40-foot high working model of a hydroelectric dam, or have your feet massaged mechanically. Directly over my shoulder is a portion of a 6-unit, $10 million science pavilion. I'll be reporting from both of these areas later. Now back to Charles Herring at the Coliseum.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll be calling on you frequently, as well as Mike Rhodes and Kurt Fortney, who are atop the 600-foot Space Needle here on the fairgrounds. Now let's get down to cases as we go to NBC's Frank Blair at the south entrance to the fairgrounds, as the gates are open to the public for the first time.
Right, and here we are at the South Gate, and I am, as they used to say, one of the receipts of custom, and business is booming, and here they come as the gates open. The first people to visit the Seattle World's Fair, the first World's Fair in the United States in 23 years. And we're going to talk to some of them as they come in, as they come over my way. They have to come this way before I can talk to them. Hey, young man, will you come here, please? Come this way, please. Thank you. Hi, now that you're in, what do you expect to see?
I expect to see the needle.
You think that's the most attractive thing at the fair?
To me it is, yes, sir.
What kind of a landmark does it represent to you?
Represents the whole fair to me.
Right, it's a symbol, isn't it?
That's right.
Good. Have fun at the fair. How much
Thank
do you
you.
expect to spend here?
I don't know.
Go and have fun. Boys, come over. May I talk to you? May I talk to you, young man? What do you expect to see at a World's Fair?
As much as I can.
Where are you going first?
Probably the Science Pavilion.
Do you have a pocket full of money?
No, just about empty, but going to try to see all the free stuff first and then get a couple rides in.
Right. Good. Have fun. Here's a gentleman standing with his back to our camera. Turn around so the whole nation can see you there. Tell me, sir, what do you expect from a World's Fair?
Expect to sell a lot of Niagara massage equipment.
Oh, that's a commercial. Thanks a lot. Get off the air. How about it, girls? What are you doing here?
Riding on their eyes.
You're giggling pretty good, I can see that. Where are you going to head first? How about you? Turn around so they can see you on camera. See the camera right there? Yes.
The gateway. No, I don't know.
The gateway. You're going to the rides first? Oh, well, that's the teenage outlook on a fair. Here's a gentleman. How are you, sir?
Oh, just fine this
Are
morning.
you-
After a little wait, we got in all right.
Yeah, how long did you wait out there?
Oh, I was there about a half an hour, three-quarters.
Oh,
not
that's
too
not
long.
too long.
Oh, no. But it was amusing to watch the people around there, you know. They're everybody having a good time, and everybody's good-natured.
Sure, that's the way it is with a
That's fine.
crowd. What did it cost you to get in?
This.
You bought a book of tickets or
I
something?
bought a book, several books I have at home. Yeah.
How much do they cost? Can you tell me?
Well, this one was $6.50 I paid for
And that
it.
covers many things, doesn't it?
Well, it covers a good many of the amusements here, I guess. I haven't tried them all yet, but
You
I'm
think
going
it's going to be worth it?
Oh, boy, was it worth it? I'll say it is. Why, this is exhilarating. I'll tell you, this is just wonderful just
Great.
to be here.
I know you want to get on your way, so I'll let
Yeah.
you go. Here's a lady taking a picture of me, and I'm going to take a picture of her. Turn around so we can see you on television. Come here.
Where am I on television?
Did you just come through the gate?
Yes, I did, and I'm thrilled.
Already through?
Yeah, thrilled seeing you and seeing the fair.
Oh, thank you for the compliment. What does the Space Needle mean to you? What does it signify to you?
It means that we are looking to space for the next few years to discover new wonders.
Right. Do you plan to come to the fair many times, or is this going to be
Oh,
your
no,
only...
many times.
Many times.
Yes.
You can't see it all in
No,
one visit,
yeah,
can you?
absolutely not.
Thank you very
It's
much.
wonderful.
You're very nice.
Yeah.
Hi, fellas. Did I talk to you yet?
No, you didn't.
Did you just come through the gate?
Yes, we did.
And where are you heading first?
Probably over to the...
You are watching the opening day's events live and direct from the Seattle World's Fair. Our coverage will continue after this announcement. When World's Fair visitors return to their homes, one of the things that's apt to stand out in their memories is the Washington State theme exhibit here in the Coliseum, The World of Tomorrow. This 24-minute show is a spectacular which takes place high above the floor of the Coliseum in a cloud-like maze of 4-foot aluminum cubes. The project architect is Paul Grayson, and one of which you and your associates can be very proud, and I feel sure that our viewers in Southern California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, Spokane, Portland, and here in Seattle will find this one of the most interesting things.
This unusual
at the fair.
structure is the result of teamwork of many thousands of men and women. And we were
It's
very...
a great teamwork effort, sir. Thank you very much. Now, this is the summer when you can come to Seattle and see the world, literally. Dozens of foreign nations are on display here in the boulevards of the world, the International Mall, and the International Plaza. The striking Dupen Fountain, for example, with its abstract bronze sculptures, fronts the Canadian Pavilion. Inside, the exhibit runs the gamut from Eskimo life in the Arctic to the scientific achievements of modern Canada. Elsewhere, there's everything from jeweled temples of Thailand to exquisite Japanese gardens. Ancient arts are combined with the most modern scientific and industrial achievements of a new age. There's endless fascination in exhibits from the leading industrial nations of the East and West, from highly developed small countries, even from tiny San Marino, famous for its stamps and pottery. The government of India has created a pavilion that captures the spirit of ancient tradition, and so it goes down the line. That will give you some idea of the extent of the foreign participation in the Seattle World's Fair. Let's hear now from some of the men in charge of the various exhibits as we call in Bill Corcoran.
Back here in the International Plaza, we're standing in front of the huge Canadian exhibit, and I believe it is one of the largest foreign exhibits at the Seattle World's Fair. And this is Deputy Commissioner General R.E.H. Ogilvie representing the Canada exhibit, and I think I'm correct in saying it's the largest foreign exhibit, is that not?
It's the largest single exhibit, yes.
What are some of the high spots, Mr. Ogilvie?
Well, we've gone along with the general theme of the fair and have selected as a theme of Canadian science and industry serving mankind, and the result is the majority of our exhibits are based on recent Canadian scientific achievements.
I see. I noticed with interest you have a large exhibit concerning the Arctic area.
Yes, that's the one spot where we moved away from the scientific achievements, and there we've let our imagination run with us a little bit and built a display on what the Arctic could be like in the 21st century.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ogilvie. I'm sure that everyone, especially our friends in Canada, were most interested in hearing what you had to say. Now, very quickly, I'd like to call in Mr. Erik Sorensen from the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Copenhagen. He represents the Danish exhibit, which is just beyond the Canadian exhibit. And tell me, sir, what are you showing the world through your exhibit?
We are trying to show a quality which is developed through our tradition, and to develop this tradition will be our bet for the future. We think that even if you are working in industrialized society, you have to have this human care for things, considerations which make everyday life more pleasant, more beautiful, and more human, as we call it.
Thank you very much, Professor Sorensen. And now, our telecast of Century 21, the Seattle World's Fair, is being brought to you live and direct from Seattle. Stay with us as our activities continue.
The opening of this exhibit today will be quite an accomplishment in this electronic and space age. As we've mentioned earlier, President Kennedy will push a gold telegraph key at Palm Beach, Florida, where the first family is spending the Easter vacation. This is a key which was fashioned from gold nuggets back around the turn of the century and was made reportedly by one George Carmack, who supposedly, according to reports, is the man who started the Klondike Gold Rush in 1898. In 1909, when the Alaska-Yukon Exposition was held here in Seattle, the last World's Fair held here, President William Howard Taft pushed that key to activate that fair. And so today, more than half a century later, history is to repeat itself. Even World's Fair visitors from Rome, Italy, a city famed the world over for its beautiful fountains, will be enthralled by the magnificent display near the center of the fairgrounds, the $350,000 International Fountain. With the story on this spectacular creation is Bill Nielsen.
International Fountain is literally a symbol of the great water resources of the Pacific Northwest. To tell us the entire story is the resident architect on the project, Mr. John Phillips. John, how does this fountain differ from what we normally think of as conventional?
Well, this is a sculpture of water rather than stone or metal.
While you explain to us just how you create this sculpture in water, suppose we take a look at the massive complex that is underneath the fountain.
Well, you're looking at the machinery room. Around the machinery room is a 42,000-gallon reservoir. And from the reservoir, we pump water into a pressure system up through electronically controlled valving, then out through the nozzles, and then the water is played down through stone and then recovered again.
John, how exactly was the fountain created?
Well, it was at the suggestion of Paul Terry, the primary architect for the World Fair, and members of the Municipal Art Commission of Seattle, that they called an international competition. And out of over some 250 entries, the two young architects from Japan were selected.
And we're fortunate to have those gentlemen with us today. Will you step in, please?
This is Kazuzuki Matsushita and Hideki Shimizu, both architects in the design section of the Taisei Construction Company, Tokyo.
Gentlemen, are you happy with the way your creation has come alive here on opening day of the fair?
Yeah, very lucky, happy.
You're very happy, as well you should be. I believe that this fountain design has led to some further education for these gentlemen, hasn't it, John?
Indeed it has. They've been accepted back at the University of Pennsylvania for graduate study.
Shan, thank you so very much, and thanks to you, gentlemen. Today, people from the immediate surrounding area are having an opportunity to see this work of art for the first time. We hope that during the fair, many thousands others watching us up and down the coast will do the same. Now let's go to Bill Corcoran at the Japanese exhibit.
We'll call in Bill Corcoran just a little bit later, but now we want to discuss what is undoubtedly the best-known symbol of the fair, the towering Space Needle, 600 feet high and topped by a revolving restaurant and an observation tower. The observation tower does not turn. It's had the whole city of Seattle goggle-eyed for nearly a year. Late last spring, all that was here was a Y-shaped excavation 30 feet deep. The contractors laced it with 250 tons of reinforcing steel, 96 steel anchor bolts. They poured 470 truckloads of concrete in a single 12-hour day, the largest continuous building concrete pour in Western history. Steel was lifted into place by a unique jumping derrick crane designed and built especially for this job. As the steel core of the tower grew, the derrick was boxed in and then raised to a new level, one jump after another. The columns were joined by 60,000 high-tensile bolts, and 97,000 pounds of welding rod were used in on-site construction alone. And finally, just before Christmas, they were ready to lift the stainless steel point of the needle into place. That is a gas-lit beacon, which lights up in the evening and can be seen for some distance all the way around. Today, the Space Needle looms over the fairgrounds as the single predominant feature, one that can be seen for miles in any direction, and undoubtedly more tourists will have their pictures snapped standing in front of the needle this summer than any man or nature-made attraction anywhere in the world. Now at the 500-foot level in the Space Needle restaurant called the Eye of the Needle, let's go to reporter Mike Rhodes.
Here in the Space Needle over the Century 21 World Fair site, and up here we have one of the most unique restaurants in the world. The assistant dining room manager of this unique restaurant is Mr. Leif Langus. Leif, I have just one question. In a restaurant that revolves 360 degrees each hour, how do the waitresses keep track of their tables?
The waitress has, each section has its own color, and in the kitchen we have a clock, looks like a compass, and it's marked by green, golden, tangerine, and brown.
Mm-hmm.
And the waitresses pick up the food in the kitchen, take a sharp look at the clock, and they indicate if to turn left or right.
It helps them to navigate, in other words, when they come out of the restaurant. Do you have waitresses assigned to 4 different quarters?
4 different quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Mont Rainier, St. Helen, Mont Baker,
And all of the other wonderful views around us. And 360-degree turn each hour gives an unparalleled view when you dine in the Space Needle. We have other features up here also, and we'll be telling you about them as the program progresses. Right now, let's take you once again down to ground level and Charles Herring.
Well, we are standing by here as the World's Fair begins in Seattle, the first World's Fair to be held anywhere in the United States in 23 years. We shall continue with coverage of today's program in just a moment. The World's Fair grounds is beginning to swarm with visitors. They're already pouring into the Coliseum building here. And I imagine some of them are visiting the Japanese exhibit, near which our reporter Bill Corcoran is now stationed.
Here with me now is the manager of the British exhibit here at the Seattle World's Fair, Century 21, and he is Mr. George Farndell. Mr. Farndell, you have a central theme, I think, for your exhibit, have you not?
Yes, we try to put over Britain's technological and industrial achievements.
What are some of the highlights of your exhibit?
First, we try to introduce the theme by a rather delightful entrance featuring the two queens, Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Elizabeth II, and try and show that Britain has made a giant progress during the 300 years between the two reigns. Mm-hmm. Going through the exhibit, we have a very long and large hall of technology. We have a number of examples of Britain's technological achievements put in display form. At the end of this large hall, there is a big space ball, which is quite a magnificent thing, showing Britain's program in radio astronomy. And then we have a large number of industrial exhibits in the front of the pavilion.
Fine. Thank you very much, Mr. George Farndell. We'll be seeing you at the British exhibit very often during the months to come. Now, let's join with our friends from Japan who have a very large exhibit here, and some very pretty girls to see, I might add. And I would like to call over Mr. Hideo Nakano, who is general manager of the Japanese pavilion, and who is accompanied by some very pretty kimono-clad young ladies. Mr. Nakano, what is Japan trying to show in its exhibit?
We would like to show the traditional Japan and the modern science in Japan. And about the traditional Japan, we display the typical the stone garden and art craft and elegant silk fabrics. And about the modern science, we display the space exploration instruments such as the Kappa rocket and electronic apparatus such as Otsuota and medical instruments.
It's a very interesting, colorful, and exciting exhibit, I can guarantee you. Thank you very much, Mr. Nakano. We're bringing you the activities of Seattle's Space Age World's Fair here on opening day. We'll be right back with more.
28 African nations have pooled their resources for an all-African presentation here at the exposition. This is the first time the African countries have ever done this, and it's a further indication of the coming of age of what we used to refer to as the Dark Continent. 90 African students who are attending colleges and universities in British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon will serve as hosts and hostesses for the African Pavilion during the fair. One of them is the young man standing beside me now. His name is Legson Kaira, and that may strike a responsive chord with you because his story has been covered in many of the national news magazines. Legson, a native of Nyasaland in southeast Africa, decided that he wanted to go to school at Skagit Valley College in Mount Vernon, Washington, a town 50 miles north of Seattle. He set out to turn his dream into reality, did it by walking 2,500 miles all the way from Nyasaland to Khartoum in the Sudan. From there, the generous residents of Mount Vernon raised the money to bring Legson out here, where he's been attending college for the past 16 months. Well, Legson, in the time that has now passed, has your idea of how important it is to have an American education changed any?
No, it hasn't changed. In fact, it's becoming stronger and stronger. And I'm trying to work harder, as hard as I can, to see that I get the education I wanted.
Oh, then you would walk the 2,500 miles again. You'd do it over again.
If I were home, I would, yes.
Well, now, you will have a chance to tell Americans here at the fair from all over the United States and the world something about Africa, particularly your country. What are some of the things that you'll tell them?
It's, in the last 3 or 4 years, my country has changed a lot. Now, I thought the government would help me, my government, so I wrote them to see if they could send me some literature, some pamphlets. So I'd say, if you would be asking me here, I would give them the pamphlets and the literature, and let them read, and then I would be explaining that. But I think there will be quite a lot to tell them about my country especially, because I think there are very many things of interest I can tell them about the people, about the schools, about the conditions, and about the weather, and very many other things.
Well, Legson, we're sure that you will be a wonderful host at the fair.
Thank you
so much for joining us on this World's Fair Salute at this time.
Thanks very much.
Now to Bill Nielsen on the fairgrounds.
I've been talking with some very interesting people here, some visitors from Redding, California, who have just entered the fairgrounds. On my left is Mrs. Beth Starr from Redding. Is that correct, Mrs. Starr?
That's right.
Would you kindly introduce the two very beautiful young ladies on my right?
The one on the left is Joan Brush from Williams Lake, British Columbia, Canada, and a student at Chico State College. The other is my daughter, Marilyn Starr, and a student at San Jose State College.
Girls, what are your first impressions of the fair?
Oh, it's just marvelous, though. It's so large, I'm completely lost.
Thank you so much for being with us. Now back to Charles Herring.
Now the official dedication ceremonies are underway in the stadium here on the fairgrounds. Let's move to that spot now and pick up the program in progress.
The Honorable Catherine May, United States House of Representatives, and Mr. May. The Honorable Don Magnuson, United States House of Representatives. Dr. Athelstan Spillhouse, United States Commissioner, and Mrs. Spillhouse. Mr. Ed Monroe, King County Commissioner, and Mrs. Monroe. Mr. Herbert W. Klotz, Deputy to the Secretary. Mr. Hyman H. Bookbinder, Special Assistant to the Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now our privilege to introduce the Reverend Dr. Elmer B. Christie, Rector of the Episcopal Church of the Epiphany.
Stand here momentarily. Got it?
They're going to have you come to perfectly ask him to rise. Ask him to rise.
Will you please rise? Stand, please. Let us pray. Almighty and everlasting God, our Father, who through thine eternal word hast created and sustained the universe, and dost hold in thy hands all worlds, all space, bless, we pray thee, with thy presence and power, the Seattle World's Fair and Century 21 Exposition, as we give thanks for sharing thy secrets revealed in this atomic age. Give us thy grace, O God, to use this knowledge for the making of a better world in which thy children everywhere, now and in the coming generations, may dwell together in peace and security, and wherein truth and justice, religion and piety may flourish and abound. Now unto thee be the praise and the glory forever and ever, world without end. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the Seattle World's Fair, Mr. Joseph E. Gandy.
Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are deeply honored to have you with us today on this proud moment in the history of Seattle and of the state of Washington. Today, we dedicate the first World's Fair to be held in the United States of America in 22 years, and the first World's Fair held in Seattle since 1909, when our fathers opened the Alaska-Yukon Pacific Exposition. I am proud to tell you I have in my hand, and I'm using the gavel that opened the Alaska-Yukon Pacific Exposition in Seattle in 1909. We are proud of the men and the women of many nations that are here as our guests. They join us in looking forward to the world of tomorrow. That is our theme. The Seattle World's Fair is an international marketplace. It is a scientific springboard to Century 21. But more significantly, it is a bringing together of the peoples of the world in common quest for tomorrow. If it brings us closer to the threshold of understanding, then indeed we shall have accomplished our goal. Now, ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to the bandstand. I would like to introduce Mr. Harry Pelletier, the drummer of the official band of the 1909 Alaska-Yukon Pacific Exposition. Mr. Pelletier. Mr. Pelletier has handed the baton to Mr. Jackie Souters, conductor of the Seattle World's Fair Band. And now the Marine Air Reserve Training Detachment will present the colors. Present the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so galvanized that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That was Miss Mary Costa who sang our national anthem. The flag of the sovereign state of Washington.
the flag of Century 21. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present now a friend of many of you and a host for all of you, the Honorable Gordon S. Penton, Mayor of the City of Seattle. Mr. Gandy, Secretary Hodges, Governor Rossellini, distinguished guests, distinguished ambassadors, my fellow citizens. At the start of this Seattle World's Fair, we in this city feel both proud and humble. We are proud because this city and this state, in fact, our whole West Coast, have become the focal point of the world's interest. This fair represents America's answer in the space age. All of the coordinated planning of city, state, and nation come to bear in this fair which now opens. My hope is that the people will proudly see here in Seattle the best America has in terms of science, commerce, industry, the arts, and religion. The world of Century 21, with all of its tremendous possibilities for new concepts in living, will unfold before the world. We're likewise humbled to have been selected to represent our great nation. Seattle has the unique privilege given to few to show by our that make for good living. We welcome you all to our Seattle World's Fair. Thank you for being with us at this memorable moment in our history. Thank you, Mayor Clinton. No World's Fair is complete without a song. With us today is one of the finest singers of songs, the star of motion pictures, television, and musical comedy, Mr. John Raitt, who salutes another fair of another day as he sings Meet Me in St. Louis. Thank you. Meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at the fair. Don't tell me the lights are shining any place but there. We will dance the hoochie coochie here. Meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at the fair. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this wonderful old fair song was sung today. It might go something like this. Meet me at the Needle, Nellie, meet me at the fair. The monorail will take you, Nellie, and I'll meet you there. We will dance the twist and zamba. We might even do the mamba. Meet me at the Needle, Nellie. Meet me at the fair in Seattle at the fair. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Raitt. It takes many friends, willing friends, to build a fair. And the World's Fair has had no better friend than the governor of the evergreen state of Washington, the Honorable Albert D. Rossellini.
Distinguished guests and fellow citizens, the state of Washington is proud to pay host to the world during the next 6 months. As governor of the state, I welcome all of you to the Seattle World's Fair. What you are about to see represents the consummation of a dream which started some 7 years ago. There were many who said that it could not be done. They were wrong. And today you see the living proof of how wrong they actually were. To me, the World's Fair, as it opens today, epitomizes the dynamics and vitality of the people of our great state. The many, many men and women who labored so long and diligently against what appeared at times to be insurmountable obstacles are deserving of our deepest admiration and gratitude. Their efforts have literally focused the eyes of the world on Washington State. It has been my privilege and honor to be associated with them during this great undertaking. I am equally privileged and honored to welcome all of you and the millions who will follow to what I sincerely believe will be one of the most memorable experiences in your lives.
Once again, Mr. John Raitt singing, "Hi-Ho, Come to the Fair."
The sun is a-shining to welcome the day. Hi-ho, come to the fair. The folk are all singing so merry and gay. He not as fine as can be, with trinkets and tokens so pretty to see. So it's come then, maidens and men, to the fair in the pride of the morning. So deck yourselves out in your finest array, and it's hi-ho, come to the fair. The fiddles are playing the tune that you know. Hi-ho, come to the fair. The drums are all beating, away let us go. Hi-ho, come to the fair. Racing and chasing till morning, till night, and roundabouts turning from left and to right. So it's come then, maidens and men, to the fair in the pride of the morning. So lock up your house, there'll be plenty of fun, and it's hi-ho, come to the fair. For love-making too, if so be you've a mind, hi-ho, come to the fair. For hearts that are happy, are loving and kind, hi-ho, come to the fair. If haste to the wedding the fiddle should play, I warrant you'll dance to the end of the day. Come then, maidens and men, to the fair in the pride of the morning. The sun is a-shining to welcome the day. Hi-ho, come to the fair. Maidens and men, come to the fair in the morning. Hi-ho, come to the fair.
Is a man who truly belongs at a World's Fair. He has brought laughter and joy to every corner of the globe. He is beloved by both junior and senior citizens. Today he has journeyed to Seattle to read to us the credo of Century 21. Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable Danny Kaye.
Thank you very much, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. First, let me briefly say that I couldn't be more delighted and I couldn't be more honored when I was asked to read the credo for the World's Fair. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the credo of Century 21 Exposition, the meaning of the Seattle World, of the story of people and of America. It's the story of people small in numbers, but big in dreams. People who sought with a fury their place in the sun. And they sought it with a dedication usually reserved for those who build nations and discover lands and oceans or reach for new thoroughfares in the sky. Thus dedicated, they fixed their eyes on the century to come, on Century 21, and they commenced to dream, and then to plan, and then to build. And while building, they humbly asked the people of the world to join them in the task of planning and building. And today they ask the people of the world to join them in celebrating the opening of a great World's Fair. Today they celebrate the gathering of men from all nations who share a common quest for broader knowledge and understanding of today, of tomorrow, and of Century 21. I've seen it in the faces of children, in the faces of men and women in many lands. They seek a common meeting place, a source of understanding and fuller knowledge that comes from working and building with each other. And this truly is the goal and the crowning achievement of a great World's Fair, because they seek, in fact, what is unfolding here today. Cherish this day, this opening of Century 21 Exposition. It is a day marking brilliant achievement, an achievement which carries with it the firm obligation to help light the way to the year 2000, the dawn of Century 21.
That, as you might have guessed, is a shot from the top of the needle.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fair has no finer friend. No one has done more for it or for the city, for the state, than the Honorable Warren G. Magnuson, United States Senate. Mr. Magnuson.
Thank you, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Within moments, the President of these United States will press a button opening this great exposition. We in Congress are proud to have been a part of it. Because of the action of the Congress of the United States and the federal government, we have this great scientific, United States scientific exhibition. Never has science had more to show to the world. Millions will see it, but the millions that don't see it will find that in its exhibits gives promise for a better standard of living for tomorrow. I wish that all members of Congress could be here to participate in this very fine show. We are proud, I say, to be a part of it. There are some of us here, and we're here today to not only wish the fair good luck, but to suggest that this is historians will probably say in the future, this is a momentous day in a new era, a new world. Thank you.
For all its pride to a city and to a state and to a nation, a World's Fair, after all, is the undertaking of a nation. Certainly the government and the industry of the United States of America have combined to create here in Seattle a nation's proud welcome to the world. prime responsibility rests with the Commerce Department. And with us today is a man that we are honored to have. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of Commerce of the United States of America, the Honorable Luther H. Hodges.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. May I offer my sincere congratulations to all who have had a part in making this beautiful fair and exposition a reality. We are very proud in the administration and the Department of Commerce to have had a part in the Federal Science Building. I want to say to you that this fair symbolizes our faith on the part of America in the future of this country and the world. We are not interested in doom or gloom. We are interested in hope and in confidence. This Century 21 is a preview of the century that follows and the many centuries that come after that. This fair pleases us particularly because of the image that it gives of art and education and music and science. There is less of midway and more of the way of life to see. Youth of this country can look here and plan and dream for the years ahead, which belongs to it. Here we work in concert with other nations of the world as exhibitors and as cooperators. Our association with them here in trade will lead toward peace. We are not, however, looking only at the economic, but at the spiritual. We will have fun here, but we will also broaden our horizons here. And above all, we will renew our inspiration to serve all the peoples of God's earth so that we may better serve God. Thank you.
21 gun salute.
The Washington State National Guard will now honor the World's Fair and our distinguished guests with a Century 21 salute. Pavilion with its distinctive 100-foot-high Gothic arches.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, from Palm Beach, Florida, the President of the United States.
I am honored to open the Seattle World Fair today, but confidently towards the 21st century. Many nations have sent exhibits and will send their people. We welcome them. This exemplifies the spirit of peace and cooperation with which we approach the decades ahead. This manner of opening the fair is in keeping with the exposition's space age theme. Literally, we are reaching out through space on the new ocean to a star which we have never seen, to intercept sound in the form of radio waves already 10,000 years old to start the fair. The Sound Emanate constellation is located. How different did our globe look 10,000 years ago when that sound started its long voyage? We hope that the light which starts from that star today, I am confident that as this sound from outer space is utilized to open the fair in turn will open the doors to further scientific gains by letting all see special significance. It's been used by 7 presidents to open great expositions such as the Alaska Yukon Pacific Exposition in Seattle in 1909, the Panama Canal, and many others. and was presented to me by your senior Senator Warren Magnuson, the other at the White House last Wednesday. By closing this key, may we open not only a great World's Fair, may we open an era of peace and understanding among all mankind. Let the fair begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, begin the countdown. 2, 1. Look at the balloons up here.
And so the fair is officially dedicated by the President of the United States through one of the most novel means that has ever been employed. You heard the President describe how the impulse which he was sending out from the telegraphic key was going to Andover, Maine, to the Bell System laboratory there, and a huge horn pointed to the sky weighing 340 tons, picking up the radio wave from the star some 10,000 light years away, transmitting that to Earth and then sending it by landlines here to Seattle to open the fair, to touch off the cannons, the carillons, which you hear ringing now on the American exhibitors are participating in the Seattle World's Fair. 13 domestic exhibitors have their own buildings on the grounds. A geodesic dome supported by an external frame of gold aluminum tube is just one example. Our company presents one of the fair's 2 rides through space and a preview of products of the future. The Bell Telephone Pavilion is another distinctive building in a different style. It presents 1,000 years of communications history, and visitors will learn about research that's building the communication system of the years to come. Here's a unique home constructed by the Douglas Fir Plywood Association. In the Fashion Pavilion, Revlon is staging a fashion show with models on colored lily pads over a perfumed pool. All told, 10 corporations have space in the colorful Hall of Industry. The largest of these, the National Cash Register Company, with a vast array of complicated business machines. Certainly, American industry has done itself proud at this World's Fair. Here in the center of the industrial exhibit area is Ted Bryant.
One of the exhibits which will catch your eye when you tour the industrial exhibits areas is 40-foot-high man-made waterfall. It's a part of the electric utilities display, and the man who oversees it is Al Couch. Al, does that have a practical as well as a decorative purpose?
The practical purpose is to show the supply and distribution of hydroelectric power in the state of Washington.
It's also a sort of an audience participation exhibit, isn't it?
Yes, we have a map that the audience can press a button and show the transmission routes throughout the state. As you know, there are 50 dams supplying hydroelectric power to every point in the state.
It probably seems unusual to some of our viewers that public and private utilities should join in an exhibit of this kind.
Well, that's right, but in this case, why, it is the best way to show the problem at hand, and certainly it's been a wonderful experience to show how electric power can be distributed throughout the state of Washington.
Al, thank you very much. Here on the coast, we like to live both indoors and outdoors, and if that's the situation you're in, you'll find something very interesting, I think, in the GE exhibit, and the man who is in charge of that is from New York City, and he has put together an exhibit which I think you will find interesting not only in regard to the displays there, but the entertainment. His name is J.E. Weldy, and I think some people wandering into the GE exhibit might mistakenly believe they'd wandered into Show Street.
Well, we do have Miss Seattle and her runner-up, but they're playing the role of Kathy Larson because we show a family actually enjoying General Electric living.
Also, your exhibits are not truly 21st century, are they?
No, we have both products that people can buy right today, as well as some exciting ideas like projected on the wall, large-size color television, KING.
Jiggs, thank you very much.
Things for the future.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's an interesting exhibit, an entertaining one. We'll do it. It's likely the visitors to the fair, some of them will be going on this summer to Alaska on their vacations, and if your plans include that sort of a trip, you'll have a preview here at the World Fair on the Alaska exhibit. The Alaska exhibit is in the National Bank of Commerce building, and Wilbur H. McGuire, who's the vice president of NBFC, is here with us. I think it's a little unique for a firm to build an exhibit, Mr. McGuire, and then give it to somebody.
Well, this is the first time we've had the privilege of doing that, but we haven't had that opportunity of as many people, as many friends in the state of Alaska as we have, and this is an opportunity to see them here at the fair.
In particular, what is it that you'll be highlighting in the exhibit of Alaska?
In the highlight of Alaska will be the oil, pulp, paper, the various things that make Alaska great and continue to make it great.
Mr. McGuire, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted.
Anyone else's, all in itself, but each one is an individual, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Oh, yes, I think Show Street is the best part of the whole fair, of course.
Oh, well, of course, and that probably is certainly one of the most colorful and exciting places. The Show Street, by the way, is the adult entertainment section of the World's Fair, and we're very thrilled about this, of course. Being that it has a section all its own, very good, and just lots of luck. I know it's going to be so exciting, Gracie.
Oh, it is.
We'll be seeing lots of you.
Oh, I hope so.
And now I think we're going to join Stan over in the Gateway.
Folks, here we are back in the Gateway, and things are really beginning to percolate around here. I want to introduce the fellow who's in charge of all the Gateway operation. Here he is, Patty Conklin. Patty, tell us a little bit about what's going on here today.
Well, the Gateway is 100% open, and even the big Skywheel that was announced in the press only 10 days ago that it wouldn't be here, that's operating. And everything is going better than we anticipate. We've had the most marvelous cooperation from the officials of the fair. We all worked out here till after midnight. I see a few more cameras on us over there. And right in our background is the famous Wild Mouse ride, one of 6 that I am now operating in different parts of the United States and Canada.
I just took that ride, Patty. It is a thrill.
It's really a sensation, isn't it?
I tell you, yes.
Well, now you ought to go over there and try the Broadway trip. It's very similar to the Wild Mouse, but everything is in complete darkness. As I look to my right over here is this fabulous double-deck hot rod ride. You should take a ride on that, and that's really a thrill. Just think, riding above the fellow below you, just like if you're out on one of the big freeways in California or out on one of our state highways here in the around Seattle, Washington.
Well, Patty, it really is terrific. I want to talk here in a minute to Jack Ray. You designed the Gateway, didn't you, Jack?
That's correct, Stan. And a few months ago, this is nothing but mud and slush and concrete. Now you see it today, transformed inside of 3 months to be one of the greatest, and I would say one of the most exciting midways in the world.
I believe it.
Seeing the midways in Europe and seeing them all over the United States and the World's Fairs in the past, this is beyond a doubt the greatest that's ever been created.
Well, thank you, Jack. Here's a couple of fellas. We want to get a testimony here. What is your name?
Tom Glenn.
Tom, and what ride have you just been on?
Wild Mouse.
How did you like the Wild Mouse?
Well, you felt like you're going to fall off all the time.
You did. Well, that's the thrill. What's your name?
Joey Butcher.
What's happened to you, Joey?
Well, I lost my ticket book.
That's what I hear. Anybody that sees Joey's ticket book, be sure to bring it over here to the Gateway. He'll be waiting for it. Who are you?
Jim Glenn.
What ride have you been on, Jim?
Wild Mouse.
And who are these kids? What's your name?
Mary Jane Pryor.
Mary Jane, and is this your brother?
Yeah. Andy.
Andy, did you have fun? Good. Well, we're going to be back again in just a moment. Right now, we're going to pause for just 1 minute.
As you noted during the dedication program in the stadium, VIPs are here in great abundance today, and many of them have now moved from the stadium up to the Eye of the Needle, the restaurant atop the towering Space Needle. Here to chat with some of the dignitaries are reporters Kurt Fortney and Mike Rhodes.
Up in the Space Needle restaurant once again, I'm speaking now with Mr. Willis Camp, who is Assistant Vice President for the Seattle World's Fair. And, Mr. Camp, I think we can do a service for many of our listeners and viewers down around the Los Angeles, San Francisco area who are planning to come this way in regard to our housing. If I may ask you a few questions, how is the housing problem being met at the moment?
Well, last year we formed what is known as Expo Lodging. It is a reservations bureau for all types of housing accommodations, whether it be hotel, motel, apartments, trailers, camps, whatever. This has grown to tremendous proportions. We now have about 160 people handling these reservations on a 24-hour-a-day basis, 7 days a week. And we probably will expand that force to well over 200 within the next month.
It's only beginning. It's going to have to expand an awful lot.
Actually, of course, we are simply making these reservations on request from people who plan to come to the fair. We are trying to book the space for these people in the accommodations that they want, bearing in mind that people have many, many ideas of what kinds of accommodations they want. Some of them want to camp, some of them want to go into motels, apartments, private homes, and so on.
Will Expo Lodging be able to take care of all of these specific types of accommodations?
Yes, we sincerely believe this will be possible. Obviously, it's going to get a little tight in July and August, which will be the peak months. But between now and June 15th, certainly, we'll be able to accommodate anyone who wishes to come. And we also feel that within the metropolitan area, and that is only a few minutes from Seattle, perhaps less than an hour, and to people in Los Angeles and San Francisco, this is only commuting time, as you know. We'll be able to accommodate everyone who wants to come. I think it goes without saying that we're not going to be able to take care of people in the main downtown hotels, but this, of course, is an exciting year and one where we're going to accommodate all sorts of people in all sorts of accommodations.
I'm sure that answers a lot of questions for the folks down the line who are planning to come up here. Thank you very much,
Mr.
Mike. Camp.
You bet.
You are watching the Open Days events live and direct from the Seattle World's Fair. Our coverage will continue after this announcement.
With me here is Senator Henry M. Jackson, who has a great interest in space and things of space, and since this fair does have the space age theme, I'd like to ask you, Senator, what do you think of the NASA exhibit here? Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. Matter of fact, I just went through it a short time ago for the opening today, and I want to say, Kurt, that it is indeed an outstanding exhibit. It tells the story of what we have done in space and what we propose to do. It gives the people an opportunity to see it all in one area, and I think it's a terrific educational exhibit. It's one that will appeal to the young and old alike, and it gives the story in a way that, well, even the best media, including television, radio, and the newspapers and magazines couldn't do.
You've seen the fair, at least some of it here this morning, probably complete for the first time. What do you think of it?
Well, frankly, I am pleasantly surprised. When this undertaking got underway...
We didn't have audio right at the start of this interview. This, of course, is Washington Senator Henry M. Jackson.
That we could marshal all the resources necessary to do this job. And what I was afraid of, that it might turn into just an ordinary, another country fair. But they got off on the right track by emphasizing, of course, science in a big way, along with all the arts, the humanities, and this has made the difference. This is not a great fair from the standpoint of just size, but it's the best in the world from the standpoint of quality. and this is a qualitative fair. I'm proud of what my state has done.
Thank you very much, Senator Jackson. I see Mike has another guest over here.
Hi, Kurt.
Yes, I have. Mr. Dingwall, just come in here, please. Mr. Ewing Dingwall, who has had his finger on the spot, so to speak, since the fair got underway.
Or have been on the spot a little bit myself.
Well, that is doubtless true also. Mr. Dingwall, along the way, you must have had a lot of disappointments and so forth, but now things are rolling smoothly at the moment and continue.
Yes, they certainly are, and we're very proud of this show, and we feel it is going very well today. We have a lot to learn about the handling of our crowds, and we are going to have, I suppose, a 2-week shakedown period on this whole operation. But by the 1st of May, everything will be going just the way we want it to go.
Are there a few things that will still have to be tidied up as we go along?
Yes, there are a few exhibits that are going to be delayed, but I would say 98% of this show is functioning today and functioning the way we want it to. There were some shipping delays and some other factors that have slowed things up a little bit for a few, but the show is here, and it's a great one.
And according to the large number of dignitaries who came up on the elevator with you, we are very well represented by all parts of the world.
All parts of the world. We're simply thrilled with the turnout we have here today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dingwall, and our congratulations to you
Thanks for all the help
your
you're giving
hard work. Wonderful. Kurt Portney, I believe, has another interesting guest for us now, Kurt.
I have with me here Mr. Edward Carlson, who is president of the World's Fair Corporation, who has seen this grow from just an idea. There must be quite a history, Mr. Carlson, behind this. Could you tell us about the beginnings up till now?
Kurt, today it's hard to believe that what we watched in this last hour or so represents 7 years of work. We started the planning on this in May 1955, first as a anniversary of the Alaska Yukon Pacific Exposition, which was to be held in 1959, the 50th anniversary. But the program has expanded, and today we have a great World's Fair, and it's a real thrill to see it come into being. It's a very wonderful, wonderful feeling.
Well, as a businessman as well, could you tell the people, say, in Portland, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, that it's really worth the trip?
Well, the Swedish ambassador, Ambassador Yaring, a few minutes ago turned to Senator Magnuson and I and said, gentlemen, I think you have a great hit. And from the Swedish ambassador, we think that pretty well describes what we have here.
Hit means the same thing in Swedish as it does here.
Well, he seems to think as a show and as an attraction that the people are going to like it. And this morning, as we went through the grounds and saw it all in one piece, it looked like we had something that was going to be attractive and the people would enjoy seeing.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thanks, Kurt.
I see a colleague of yours over here, Mr. William Street with Mike Rhodes.
Before we talk with Mr. Street, I think we're going to go quickly down, Kurt, to Chuck Herring. We'll be right back up on the Space Needle.
We're very saddened to have to make this announcement, ladies and gentlemen. One of the planes of the 18 which were participating in the flyover at the dedication ceremonies, they came from Payne Air Force Base and from the Whidbey Island Naval Air Station, has crashed in the north end of Seattle. The Washington State Patrol has asked us to ask motorists to please stay out of the area around 19th Avenue Northeast and Northeast 205th Street, the scene of the accident. That is in Seattle, in Seattle's north end, 19th Northeast and Northeast 205th. Please do not go into the area. Law enforcement authorities are having enough difficulty as it is trying to maintain order there. We do not have any idea whether the plane was an F-102 from Payne Air Force Base or an A-3D from the Whidbey Island Naval Air Station, but as soon as we do, we will fill you in. Now, back to the Space Needle Restaurant and Mike Rhodes.
And now back up on the Space Needle with Mr. Street, who is, by the way, the chairman of the Century 21 Corporation. And Mr. Street, I'd be interested to know a little bit about how the business community of Seattle got behind the Century 21 World's Fair and underwrote the entire magnificent project.
Well, they certainly did, and they did it with a will. We started out first with a request for $3 million, and that was subscribed. And later on, as the outlook grew and the demand for more capital was evident, we went back and oversubscribed another $1.5 million. We had something like $5 million of private capital with which to work. And this gave those of us who were working in the fair a real shot in the arm. We honestly knew then that everybody was behind it.
With the increase in business in Seattle proper and on the West Coast in general, this is quite a feather in the hat of the coast
to have a thing like this.
Yes, I think this will attract tourism to the West Coast, in which all the states will share. Most people who live in the Middle West and East, we are finding out, are now thinking of not only coming to the fair, but they're also thinking of going down the coast and see the rest of the fair, or starting in Los Angeles and working up to Seattle. So there is a benefit from that standpoint, and I also think just drawing attention to the coast and the capacity of the city, people's capacity for achievement is a good thing in which to share, because this West Coast of ours is still a long way from some centers of the world as they see it, but not anymore, I think.
Internationally speaking, it also is quite an attraction so far as shippers in the future might be concerned.
Yes, I agree, and I believe a great deal of the international interest that came when they finally realized where Seattle, Washington was, is now been proven by the support. We have the head of the 6 communities, the European Economic Community here, and this is the first time that he has visited this part of the United States, although he readily admitted that he knew quite a bit about the United States. I think this will be a thing that will happen a great deal.
You are, I take it, well pleased with the representation of all of the foreign countries here.
Yes, I think we have all we can handle, let's just put it that way.
Mr. Street, thank you so much for being with us.
Well,
now, you're watching the opening day events of the...
Next to the Space Needle, probably the best-known symbol on the fairgrounds, the symbol of the fair, is the monorail. While admittedly not every exhibit is completely finished in time for today's opening, the monorail is one thing in the fair that has been ready with a lot to spare. As the face of Seattle began to change last year, the spread eagle pylons of the monorail sprang up on 5th Avenue from the heart of the city, 1¼ miles from the fairgrounds. Next thing to go up was the beamway on the supporting columns. And nearly 7 weeks ago, one of 2 trains began operating on America's first high-speed commercial monorail. One train has already carried more than 16,000 passengers in a single day. Both trains, one red and one blue, will take much more than twice that number on many days during the next 6 months. It requires just a little over a minute and a half to ride from the Westlake Mall in the heart of the city to the World's Fair Terminal across the street from the Space Needle on the fairgrounds. It's an exciting ride, but more than that, it is an operating transit system. And transportation officials from all over the United States are showing great interest in what's going on here, because they theorize that this might just be the answer or part of the answer to the many traffic congestion problems of urban areas. Sixton Holmquist, president of Alweg Monorail and Alweg Rapid Transit of Washington State, the owner and operators of the monorail, is betting that that's the way it turns out. Here he is talking with Bill Corcoran at the monorail terminal on the fairgrounds.
Mr. Holmquist, the monorail 2 trains, the red and the blue train, have been in intermittent operation for a few weeks now, and of course today they're really very, very busy taking passengers back and forth between downtown and the World's Fair grounds. Have you had a chance to sample public reaction to the train?
No, I'm sorry, I've been too busy. I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody among the passengers as yet.
Of course, there's been a great deal of interest all around the Pacific Northwest, but what of other places? I'm thinking specifically of the Los Angeles area and San Francisco.
Well, we had some 2 weeks back, we had visitors from Los Angeles, from the City Council, from the Airport Commission, and various other newspapers were also represented up here. We had some months back presented a proposal to the Metropolitan Transit Authorities of Los Angeles, and the visitors we received in Seattle were coming up to find out how the system looked and how it worked. And judging from what they've said to the newspapers, they were all very pleased with it, and Los Angeles seems to be genuinely interested in studying the possibilities of having some monorail transportation either out to the airport, which is a problem that plagues most cities, and also out to the valley. Now, coming back to the West Coast, we have been down to San Diego, who has expressed an interest in finding out about our system, and we have also had inquiries from various groups in
feel that this is indeed the answer to the problem of moving people in masses, and is the train of the future.
Well, Well, I don't think that you can say that anything is a cure-all. I think that this is one possible solution to the problem that faces us. I would say that one of the problems we have is to get people out of their cars. This seems to be one way of doing it because people seem to enjoy riding this way. It doesn't disturb the people living next to the installation because the operation is very silent.
It is. It's completely silent, as a matter of fact, it seems to me.
But the main point that people find out when they get here is that our structure has nothing that can even be compared to the old L of New York and Chicago, that this is something quite new, something quite different.
How does monorail compare, Mr. Holmquist, in cost per mile with other forms of rapid transit?
Well, I could quote the study we made in Los Angeles, but I think our cost for the total installation, which included structure, electrical installations, stations, service yards, rolling stock, and compare that to what it would cost in Los Angeles to dig only the tunnel.
And it comes out very, very favorably.
Well, our total cost was about 35% of their digging the tunnel cost.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sixton Holmquist. Now back to Charles Herring.
It had been predicted that as many as 100,000 persons would go through the fairgrounds on this opening day. From the crowds we see, that forecast may have been accurate. Let's go now to Bill Nielsen on the grounds.
There's no doubt about it. One of the large questions has been answered. Will people attend the fair? They're certainly attending in abundance today. We have with us now a gentleman from the French Pavilion. Your name, sir?
Mr. Richard.
What are your first impressions of the fair, Mr. Richard?
Well, it is very good. I mean, I'm very astounded by the number of people who do attend. I thought that the first day would be, you know, just people expecting to see something and really waiting to have an impression, but they seem to crowd right from the start.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richard. Now we have a lady and a gentleman over here. Your names, please?
Mrs. Orville Brown.
Mrs. Orville Brown, and this, I presume, is Mr. Brown.
That's right.
Where do you folks live?
We live in Sumner, Washington.
How do you like the fair?
Oh, it's just wonderful.
What do you think is going to be the most exciting exhibit?
Well, we haven't had a chance to really look into the exhibits yet. We were over in the arena when they had the opening, and that was terrific.
It's difficult to tell where to start, isn't it?
Really is.
That's right. It's been a pleasure talking with you folks.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Enjoy the fair. Now let's hear once again from Charles Herring.
Our telecast of Century 21, the Seattle World's Fair, is being brought to you live and direct from Seattle. Stay with us now as our activities continue. Now a look at the biggest single attraction on the fairgrounds. There are 6 major areas in the beautiful 6-acre U.S. Science Pavilion. It's the most elaborate exhibit on a single theme ever built by government or industry anywhere in the world. The techniques of a dozen graphic and theater arts are combined to diversified research projects. The average person will take 2 hours or more to go through the Science Pavilion. If there are children between the ages of 8 and 13, they may be able to amuse themselves for a considerable portion of time in the youngsters' laboratory doing science. Before continuing with the regular format, we have additional information on the plane crash. We still do not know the type of plane involved, but it was one of the 18 which was participating in the flyover at the dedication ceremonies here at noon. The Accident occurred, we are now told, at 2729 Northeast 205th Street. And 4 houses were demolished. This is an eyewitness report. We are now told, in addition, that it is an F-102. That would be from Payne Air Force Base between Everett and Seattle. We have no idea the total number of casualties. We'll fill you in as soon as we do know. A King TV cameraman is at the scene. Now, in charge of this ambitious undertaking, the U.S. Science Pavilion, which the federal government has invested $10 million in, and U.S. industry, and many foreign governments, probably half that much more, is Dr. Athelstan Spilhaus, the U.S. Commissioner for the World's Fair. He is not available at the moment for an interview, as we had hoped. However, we do have Ted Bryant in front of the Science Pavilion to talk to some of Dr. Spilhaus's colleagues.
The U.S. Science exhibit cost $10 million. That's the largest cash outlay ever made by government or industry for such an exhibit based on a single theme, and it's going to be undoubtedly one of the most popular exhibits on the fairgrounds. Many people call it the sleeper of the show. We'd like to give you some information on what it includes and what you'll see when you come to Seattle for the World Fair and tour the U.S. Science Pavilion. Our guest is the information officer for the U.S. Science exhibit, Ed Devine. Ed, there are so many areas to cover here, and so many exciting things to see in the Science Pavilion. Where do you start, and what do you point out as the one that folks coming from California, Oregon should see?
Well, of course, the thing that's gotten the most publicity has been the Spacarium. People from all over the country have been writing to us, what about this rocket trip to the stars? They're very excited about it. We are, too. The start of this story of science, because it is a story of science, is over to our left, in a building that we call the House of Science. It's a film presentation that Charles Eames designed. He designed the theater as well, and it's just fabulous. The 6 different screens flashing different images at you, telling the story of how science developed through the ages. And I think that this is one of the most charming pieces of film I've ever seen.
Speaking of film and the Spacarium, which you mentioned a moment ago, actually, this is a film which is enclosing the person who is watching it. Isn't that about the way it works?
Yes, this is a unique presentation. A dome, 75 feet in diameter, almost envelops the audience. It is tilted so much to give you a direction in which to look, but even with the best peripheral vision, you're surrounded by the picture.
I understand that the exhibit is so realistic, so startling, that you provided handrails for the spectators. Is that right?
Well, that's part of it. Of course, with that picture surrounding you, we have the handrails there so you can grab them and lean back.
Is it science fiction or is this factual?
Oh, no, very much factual. This is a picture of space exactly as we know it now. Now, it may change in the effect by getting on board a platform, and when they tilt this huge gyroscope out of position, the platform starts to spin slowly. We've tried to get their muscles and their minds both involved in getting new bits of information. And I think that Fred Usher of Usher and Follis Associates in Los Angeles has done a magnificent job. People who have previewed it said that this is really one of the highlights of the fair.
Well, there are 6 buildings involved here, and I think probably that people, even here in the Seattle area, who have not been on the fairgrounds before opening day, are amazed at really what the Science Pavilion amounts to.
Well, it's some 6 acres. If we wanted statistics, I could bore you for an hour. Well, there's a building on the House of Science, as I mentioned, a building on the development of science. We take you from early civilization or pre-civilization to man in the raw state, when his curiosity was aroused, to development of science as it is today. Then the Spacarium, the children's area. Then one of the buildings we consider the most important, the methods of science.